Hi everyone, I hope everybody is well. So today I'm going to start the 80s, stroke 70s, 80s Christmas frame. So as always, you'll have to collapse your frame. There'll be your glass to take out, which I don't use. You've got your back piece, your middle piece, and obviously your frame. This is the size, so it's an 8x8, 20x20 centimetre box frame. You can purchase these from Hobbycraft, from the works as well. The range did have these in, but I think they've sold out at the moment. So once you've collapsed everything, we are first of all going to work on the back piece. As always, just make sure your little tab is pointing upright before we start gluing on our pieces. It's now time to take you back in time. Fingers crossed I have chosen the right wallpaper for this. We had this wallpaper at some point. It had like a little velvet feel. So we've got the back piece, and you couldn't have the gaudy paper without a stripe piece going along the bottom. And then to top that off, a flower border. So these are the three prints to start with. So taking some clear PVA glue, I always avoid using tacky glue on the back of these. It just helps you spread it about a little bit more. So this was from the range for £2.99. It's a huge bottle, so even if you haven't got clear, just normal PVA glue will work. And we're going to take our stripe first, run our PVA glue all the way along the bottom and attach that there. So once that is in place, just use a flat tool, a ruler, a Cricut spreader, and just go right the way along. Now these have been designed more or less perfectly to the back print. Obviously, if your frame is slightly out, you might need to trim off some excess. So the next piece is this part. We're going to, again, just line this up to the top. And then, again, just use our clear PVA glue or normal PVA glue and attach that over the top. And then taking your strip of border, I would suggest popping your PVA glue on the back of here. Make sure your flowers are the right way around. Sounds crazy. I've glued things upside down quite a few times. And then you just take this right the way along, just giving yourself a little gap either side. Now need to click in your back part and your front part of your frame. So this is what it's looking like so far. Obviously my frame is pine. I'm not quite sure on a colour yet. I think once I get all my lights and everything on, I might end up keeping the pine. Obviously, if you already know what colour you're going to go for, paint that first and then obviously click that into place. So we're now going to flip down. We're just going to build a few pieces. I need to build these before I can go ahead and design some more bits. So we're going to do a little bit of building next. So we're going to start with the fire and the fireplace. There is a brick designed to go at the back of our fireplace, so you don't have to do anything with that print. We have a very old-fashioned fire. I'm sure everyone will remember these. And then we also have the old-fashioned wooden mantelpiece. So we're going to start with the mantelpiece. There'll be a tiny black tab either side. So you just need to take your scissors and just snip this end here, just where the black line ends, and then do the same on the other side, just taking it down to the bottom. You can now flip this over. You'll see how far you've gone in. We are now going to score right the way along here and then right the way along here. So just using the flat part of your blade, align that, like say you'll see how far you've gone with your little snip, just to give you a little guide. Then you're going to line that up there, run your flat blade just down the edge. Do the same on the other side. Again, just tuck that over just slightly so you can just see it. And then follow that from the top all the way down. And then again, just using the flat side of your blade. We're then going to flip it this way and score from the little tab that we've made to this little tab here. And then you're just going to score just up these little tabs. It's just going to help you just bend those over. And now what you're going to do, you're just going to gently just push this right the way along your score lines. So keep it pinched between your fingers and then let it naturally bend back. If you don't get that bend, just go back over with your scoring tool, whatever you've chosen. And then tuck these little tabs. So again, just fold your little tabs over. And then this piece here, you're just going to add some strong tacky glue and attach that to that corner. And then do the same on the other side. This is the tacky glue I will be using. I always just dip in with a cocktail stick, especially when we are working on such a little tiny flap. Once you've got your glue in place, just keep it pinched, just for, 20 seconds or so, just so it adheres. And then obviously you can let that dry. So once you've let that dry for a good 10 minutes or so, we are now just going to strengthen up the inner part. It's a lot easier doing it this way than obviously sometimes we glue on the sticks first, but because we've got these little flaps, we need to make sure that our mantelpiece, I can't get my words out, sits, quite square. So just taking a small lollipop stick, you're going to add in the top first. So just measure and trim that to size along the top. So put this one in first, and then once that's in place, you are then going to measure it. It doesn't have to go right up to the corner either, just down to the bottom here, and snip that off, and then do the same on the other side. So tacky glue in your first piece, and then tacky glue in the sides once you've trimmed those, like this. So you should have something that looks like this. Obviously mine is still drying. I do have some little craft pegs somewhere. So once everything is in place, you can just pinch these just around the edge, just to stop everything sort of folding in. I don't know where mine are. So I'm just going to leave it like that to dry. Just keep it on a flat surface. And then next we're going to build this little fireplace. So again, you will see where you'll need to score. So just flip it this way. We're going to score from this little guide here and go all the way down to the bottom. You're then going to score it again from this little tab here, all the way down to the bottom, and then you're going to score it along the top. So it's the same method like we've just done, using the flat side of our blade and our ruler. So let me just score all that. So mine has now been scored, as you can see, just to show you where to go. And then again, we're just going to pinch this and then gently bend on our score lines. So I always tend to do the sides first and then leave the tabs till last. Then you're going to flip these inside and then bend that over. So again, just using these little tabs, tacky glue, tiny little bit on here. Again, just use your cocktail stick. Place that on here and then do the same on the other side. We won't strengthen this up because this is going to go inside our little frame. However, if you want to strengthen yours up, you can put a little straw inside. It's completely up to you. So I'm just going to use my tacky glue, attach those, let it dry for a good 10 minutes. So this is what it's looking like so far. I'm not going to glue this into my frame just yet, but just to show you, I might have to strengthen up the fire like we said on the previous step with the straw, but I think I might end up adding some lights to the back of here, so I don't want to commit with that just yet. And again, let me just show you. So we've got the back print, and then that is going to obviously sit over the top, and then our fireplace is going to sit in the middle. Obviously, this bottom part here is going to strengthen everything up as well. If you've got some tiny little folds, you know, where you fold it over your fireplace, do not worry, because we will be adding a little garland and decorating the top of that as well. Obviously, we've got the stick in place, which is going to strengthen that up for us. So that is the plan for that. So next what we're going to do is build the TV. Just pop those out the way. Obviously, if you are waiting for everything to dry, you are best keeping those on a flat surface. So for the TV, this is what I've come up with. So you will get a box like this. Now what you will need to do is just squeeze it slightly. Run your tacky glue along each lip and squeeze it together. You're going to do the same on the other side, because obviously this is a slidey out box. So we just want to keep that as flat as we can. You cannot use sellotape because we will be painting this in a second. So just make sure everything is sat flat with your tacky glue. So don't stress too much about it. It's just to stop the box sliding in and out. You know, if you've got a little tiny lip, I haven't added glue to the top of mine. Everything will get blended once we paint it. So I am a very messy painter. So just to help me paint it and not keep it flat, I've just used my craft knife. Just made a tiny little hole, because obviously this is going to be glued into place, so you're not going to see the hole at the bottom. And I'm just going to take a cocktail stick and just push that inside here. That's just going to give me a handle, so I can paint that freely without having to, you know, wait for all the sides to dry. So we have got a front piece to put on, but just catch the lip just around the edge. You want to paint your top and your sides. Obviously, if you are popping this flat onto your frame, you're not going to see the back, so you won't have to paint that. I might just run a tiny lip just around the edge, or end up painting the whole thing. And again, you won't have to paint the bottom either, because you're not going to see that. Paint I will be using is raw umber. If you don't have a dark brown, you can obviously mix your lighter brown with your black paint. So that's the colour I'll be using. I've already prepped a little box as well, just popped a hole inside. I might end up going over with my heat gun as well, just to help it along the way, so I'm not sat here for half an hour waiting for everything to dry for the next stage. So if you don't have a heat gun, just get yourself a little box, make a little hole, and that way it can sit and dry with your little handle. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and paint all the areas that we have just discussed. I am just jumping in because I completely forgot to tell you, if you use quite a thick brush, obviously I want my TV looking like a wood effect, and this box has got sort of a film on it. I can't explain it, but it's got like a little coating on it. So just to get the grain of the wood, just dip into your paint and then just gently just run that over the top. It will naturally pick up, so don't get too much on your brush, and it'll naturally pick up sort of like a wood effect like this. So now I'm going to carry on. So my box is now dry. Next you will need to find your front of your TV, the little grey square, and a little Thames sticker which has been printed on the clear sticker paper. Keep your paint to hand as well, depending on what colour you've gone for your base, because obviously this is on white cardstock. We might end up with a little white line at the top, which we will blend out with paint once we have glued everything into place. So the first thing you want to do is grab your tacky glue and your grey square and place this on top of your box like this. Next you're going to peel off your sticker, just just pop it on your finger like this. Obviously it looks quite clear until we get it on the front. I've done it this way just to sort of like make it a little bit more like a TV, should we say. And you're going to align this to the top, down the edge, and then spread that out. So you'll have like a backwards L, which is where our top piece is going to sit. Just make sure everything is spread out. Like say if I'd printed this on the grey, it wouldn't be as shiny like this, and it'd be quite a block colour. So I think that's going to really add to the effect of our TV. And then taking your TV print, this will now inline over the top. So we are now going to again use our tacky glue right the way along this edge and then align that to the front. So that is now in place. Now I was going to run a little cut-tail stick just along this white border here, just to blend out the top. I've thought about it for a few minutes and decided I'm not going to do that. I do feel like the white matches the inner part of the TV as well, and it just makes that stand out a little bit more. So if you are wanting to paint it, it's completely up to you. You can obviously run a tiny cocktail stick just along that edge there, but to be fair, I don't think you're going to need it now I've popped everything into place. Next, taking my TV as a guide, just make sure either side, just pop this on just for measurements, that your TV will sit either side of your mantelpiece. So really it is this line here and this line here. I've just tacky glued this in. As you can see, it's still a little bit wet. That is going to go over the top here. So I have taken my mantelpiece, like I said, to this red border here and over to the other side. Obviously, you know, you don't have to centralise this. You can go further over and have more detail, but I do want to build a Christmas tree in this area. But before I add anything else and add my stand for my TV, I need to get my fireplace in next. So I will be adding lights. Now, if you obviously are not adding lights, now is the time to glue everything together. Again, you can strengthen this up like we've discussed a few times throughout this little video. You can run your tacky glue right the way along the edge, centralise that in the middle of your brick, and then again just pop your tacky glue right the way along your mantelpiece and line everything up. So I'm now going to flip you down. If you are adding lights, discuss the lights, and then we're going to add those together. So these were $3.99 and I will link these below. Hopefully the price will be the same by the time this video goes out. So now what we need to do is measure up where we want to put our little Dremel hole in the back to light up our fireplace. I've just lifted you up for this part. However, you are best keeping this flat while you measure it. So as you can see, my fireplace runs along this top brick here, and then this light piece here starts one brick up. So we are aiming for this middle section here, and maybe a couple of lights coming through as well. Obviously it's not going to be really strong because we are working on cardstock, but you will not have to drill any holes to the front of this part. So taking a pen, we're going up to this part here, and I'm just going to make a little mark, just pushing this over. Just with my pen, pop your fireplace back in line, if I can grab it. We're going up up to this part here. So again, just push that aside. Just mark your brick. So we've got one here and one here. Now it will measure up the other side, so you don't have to do this all the way along. So now if I pop that off, I've got a little mark of where my bottom part of my fireplace is. Then I'm just going to make a couple more going across. And that's just going to give me a guide of where I need to drill just one hole. So I've just gone up to this part here, and I'm going to drill a hole through here because I know my lights need to go on this section once we've measured this part here. So just a little tip if you are drilling a hole through your brick. Make sure when you use your Dremel that you take it from your front part of your frame and go to the back. That way it'll stop it sort of like chewing up your print. Next you will need to pull out all your lights to the point where you get to the end, so we can glue this on the back of our frame. So let me just pull all these lights through. Just flip you the other way, and then you can use your glue gun just on the top part of here. Just make sure that you have access to your batteries, so you'll see which way you need to glue. Obviously the screws are at the back here, and then taking your glue gun, just sit that flat to the back of your frame. So now we're going to take these 4 points that we made earlier, and we're going to work along this brick here. If you can see my little lines. Now there is quite a big gap from one light to the next with our wire. So what you will need to do now is just align your lights together like this, and then just twist your wire. Taking your next light, flipping it this way, and again, this, you know, you don't have to be perfect with this. It's just to sort of bunch all your lights together, because like I say, the wire is pretty long. So once you have twisted all your wires, we are now going to use these 4 dots that we've done earlier. I'm just going to use my glue gun, just attach a little blob, maybe 2 or 3, just along this little section here to start with. And then just place my wire over the top. Can't really do it because I'm holding the frame so you can see. And just make sure your lights are pointing upright. Obviously they're on wire so you can bend those. So let me just attach this little string here, and then I think you'll probably see what I mean. Switch them on just to show you. Might be a little bit easier for you to see. So I've just used my glue gun just along this part here. I am now going to bend up my wire and attach that into that corner. Again, use my glue gun to this point here, and then the rest I'm going to drop it down and then cover it. So basically we're just covering this little section here that we marked out earlier. Don't worry if you are a little bit messy as well with your glue gun, because obviously once we get the fire over the top, you are not going to see your glue. So I'm just going to carry on gluing that, and then I'll show you what it looks like before I pop my fire on. So these are what your light should look like. And I've just took my mantelpiece just over the top, because obviously the brick is slightly bigger, so you've got a little play just to centralise everything. Again, just taking your TV as a guide. I will be putting mine at an angle like this. So I'm just going to push this over just slightly. And then once everything, you know, you are happy with everything, just run your tacky glue at the back of your mantelpiece and let that dry. So once your mantelpiece, obviously mine is still drying, is tacky glued into place, just taking your fire, you might have strengthened this up. So if you have, you are best running your straw just along the top part here, but I am not going to do that with mine. And then I'm just going to take my tacky glue with my cocktail stick, run it all the way along this border here, and then I'm going to line it to the top brick, just so the light shines out the bottom as well. As you can see, if I sit this flat, you get a little bit of light. So I'm just going to take it, can you see, just a few mil up to this part here, so the light comes out the bottom of the fireplace. You can see the difference. So that is the original brick that we measured to, and I'm just going to use my tacky glue and attach that inside here. Just another little tip as I'm gluing mine in, just get yourself a dry end of a brush. Obviously you can wipe off your excess as well, but you know, if you haven't strengthened your little fireplace like me, you might feel like you can't get in the inner part just to make everything square. So just run it down either side just to push in the edges. You'll know what I mean if that ends up happening. And again, just push that down. You might find it easier to go along your brick with your tacky glue. I just find it, you know, I do it the other way around, but you know, whatever you find easiest, just to pop on your tacky glue. So just make sure that you push the sides in. And now I'm going to let everything dry. Obviously the lights might not show so much, so I will switch off my light in a second when everything's dry, just to show you. And then the next stage, I am going to build the Christmas tree. I am going to leave the TV stand till last. I'll switch my main light off. It's still quite light in here, just to show you how it glows. So you can now top up any sort of like little edges with a black Sharpie pen or a brown felt tip, rather than going in with paint, because it's only a tiny bit. You don't have to do this, but I've got a tiny little white mark here, as you can see. So I'll just dab my little pen over there, and then anything that's sort of along my mantelpiece as well, as it's come out the Cricut and it's left, you know, obviously because we are working on cardstock, you'll always get sort of like a little tiny white border. So again, you can just run your pen, little felt tip, just around the edges. So I'm just going to do that, and then next we're going to build a Christmas tree, which is going to go in this corner. So next we're going to build the Christmas tree. I'm going to use this little hat as a bucket, and then I've just trimmed off some old branches of a Christmas tree. I'm not quite sure how many I'm going to need just yet. This is going to get quite messy, so you might want to grab a tray. So the first piece, which is approximately 5 inches, I've just pulled off some of the branches at the bottom. I'm just going to use my glue gun around here and pop that inside my little bucket. Don't worry if it doesn't stand up. Mine sort of does, because this is going to get glued in the bottom of our frame along with the back part of our tree. So the next 2 branches I've cut are approximately 4 inches. And because these are going to be far too bushy to go inside this frame, I'm just going to take my scissors and just trim these off. So I'm going to keep my main one bushy. And then I'm just going to work just along the wire part. And just trim that off. I'm going to do the same with my other one as well. So now I've thinned these out, what I'm going to do is just push this back. So we want a flat part of the tree. So either side. Taking my glue gun, again, just take off some of the excess around the bottom as well, just so you can pop it into your little bucket. And then I'm going to glue gun one on this side, and then one on this side. It's going to look a little bit odd until we sort of start trimming these down, and obviously making it a little bit more bushy as we go along. So next, taking some wire cutters, I'm just going to go maybe halfway up on this branch here and trim that off. And then keeping the offcut, I'm now just going to use my glue gun on the back, and I'm just going to go sort of further up, just so it's got another thickish stem here. Don't worry again about your glue showing to the front. We are going to put a piece on this last. So I'm just going to take this wire part here and this little wire part here, so it's like the part of the branch. Bend it where I want it and then glue gun that on there. I'm then going to do the same with this longer branch. Trim it off, again just halfway wherever you want it, taking your offcut and then gluing it just further up your tree, so around here. So just keep all your glue to the front. You'll see you can just sort of squeeze it like this. So I'm just going to snip that one off and place it up here. It looks something like this. So we've took this edge and glued it on here, took this extra edge and then just glued that on there. And then I've just cut myself, they're approximately 2 inches. So 2 more pieces just to fill out the front. So again, I'm just going to trim all this excess off, just like we did at the beginning. So this front piece, just give it a little bit of a bend. I'm going to use my glue gun and attach it here so you can see where the gap is. We're just filling out the little gaps. Like say your glue gun is really quick to attach these. So I've just bent it out slightly like this. So I'm just going to use my glue gun and attach that there. Then I'm just going to go further up in this gap here and use my other one, again just bending it over. You might already have a largish Christmas tree. I just don't have any in my stash that's going to fit this frame. So these 2 pieces are going to glue in the front. So it looks something like this. And then again, I'm just going to use a couple of 2 inches. I'll write all the sizes down at the end once I've built it, because obviously I didn't know how big we needed it. So again, I'm going to cut 2 more 2 inches, trim those off, and I'm going to glue my next one up here and then one here. You can see where your sort of tree looks a little bit sparse in the corners, just keeping it all attached to your main branch. So once you've sort of added your bits to the back, keeping it on that stem, the last piece we're going to do is just add the middle. So you can see my branches coming out here just before we trim everything down. So I'm just going to glue gun it to the bottom here, push it inside and then just twist that just to the top and then just pull that branch down. So we're going to keep this long for now, because like I say, we can trim that off once it's all glued into place. That is going to cover all your glue inside. So the shape, let me just pop it off, sort of like look like a little bit of a bent shape. It's got quite a lot of wire on this, so you know you can bend these to whatever shape that you want. Then I'm just going to push that inside just by using my glue just on these flat edges here. All our branches are now in place, and we've kept this bit flat so it sits sort of like in the corner of our frame. So now just start pulling your branches forward. Obviously make sure all your glue is dry first. And then just taking some scissors, I'm just going to start getting out, see all these long bits, which is taking it away from the shape. So I'm going to trim it down here, just so you can see a bit more of my branch, and along this long part here. You might even want to use just some pipe cleaners. I know you can buy pipe cleaners and twist these all together. I just think this is going to be a little bit bushier. So just start trimming it off, just getting that shape. Like I say, it will make a mess. Getting rid of any long bits. Keeping it still quite bushy in the middle, so I'm just going to trim just a few of those. So I'm just going to carry on, just trimming it. Keeping all my branches to the front and taking off any long bits that I don't need. I will then just jot down the measurements of each branch that we use. So you might want to get a little pen for this, just so it gives you an idea, especially if you are cutting and making it the way I have. I think it's just easier, and then that way I know it's going to sit inside your frame as well. You can obviously use your frame as a guide of where you want your branches, but I do want it just coming over slightly of the outside of my frame. So I'm just going to keep shaping this and then I'll be back. Now add a haircut. So I've kept the middle long, just trimmed just all that sort of like excess long piece, keeping everything flat. It's going to be a lot easier to do it that way because obviously if you get any weight on it, depending on what you're going to decorate yours with, you don't want it sort of like flopping out your frame and having to keep pushing all your branches back. So this is going to give us a really nice base to glue along with the bottom as well. So that's going to sit in this corner here. So now let's just run through the sizes we used. So just a quick recap: 5 inches no trimming going into your bucket, to 4 inches which is going to be trimmed, come out of your bucket, trim off the excess either side because obviously it's quite long. Using your offcut, you're going to glue 1 on this side and 1 on this side. We then went in and filled out 2 more which were 2 inches, and then a couple more which I think I can remember at 2 inches. So any other branches that you need to fill out with your Christmas tree are approximately 2 inches. And then the last one that I weaved up to the top was around 4 inches. Now built our Christmas tree. Mine is going to go in this corner, however you might want to go to the other side. So I have got some coloured lights. I need to drill a hole in the back before I add my tree. So I'm going to do that next. These are the coloured lights I will be using. Now I would advise, I got these in the sale. I'm just going to backtrack a little bit. So I'm not quite sure where I got these from. There's about 200, 150, something like that on here, which I need to go right the way around my frame. And again, these are on wire. This battery pack tells me that it is waterproof, so it is a really big battery pack. So if you've only got this sort of size, it will still work. You will just need to centralise that to the back of your frame. And then what will happen is, let me just flip you this way. This little tab here is not going to be enough to hang off your wall. It still more or less sits behind here. It just means if you are wanting to sit this frame on your wall rather than sort of like prop it up, let me just move you up slightly. You will just need to use some little screws on either side and then just add some wire to the back of your picture frame, you know, go sort of like down here somewhere, and then you can hang that up. So it will still work if these are the only lights you've got. However, I would suggest trying to find some with a smaller battery pack, but these are the ones I will be using. But I definitely will be centralising that in the middle once I have drilled my hole. So I just need to take a hole just through the back of my wallpaper. Now I'm just going to place that just roughly here. I don't want it coming out the bottom. I want it sort of like further up here, and then I can start sort of like wrapping it from the bottom round to the top. So it's roughly in this area. So I'm just going to take my little Dremel now and just make a little hole just on this part of my wallpaper, drilling it from the front so it doesn't chew up my paper rather than taking it from the back. I've just drilled my hole, and I'm just going to give you another little tip, especially if you've got quite a few lights to pull through, because you're not quite sure, you know, like me, where you're going to put your extra lights. Just get yourself a little cardboard tube, and as you are pulling these through your hole to get the end of your battery pack, just wrap these around your little cardboard tube just to keep them all in place.